Last season, Barcelona's defense was horrible. They rarely ever kept a clean sheet, and they regularly conceded multiple goals in a game. They even got completely hammered by teams like Girona and Villarreal. Their defense often looked completely structureless, there was no communication between the players, and in every crucial game, it seemed like someone had to commit a fatal mistake. Barcelona ended up trophyless last season, and for a big part, their defense was to blame for that. They conceded a total of 44 goals in La Liga, 18 goals more than Real Madrid's 26. Barcelona's defense simply sucked. Under Hansi Flick, however, we've actually seen Barcelona become a defensively solid team again. Barcelona nowadays are mainly praised for how fluently they play and how easily they score goals, but their defense is actually one of their biggest weapons. I mean, they played Bayern Munich and Real Madrid in the same week and only conceded one goal in those two games together. Obviously, Hansi Flick has managed to make Barcelona's defense great again. But how exactly did he do that? Well, that's what we'll find out in this video, so let's just get right to it. First of all, we have to talk about Hansi Flick's offside trap. When people look at this current Barcelona team, a lot of them will say that Barcelona look really vulnerable and that their way of defending is very risky. After all, they play with an incredibly high line and they leave a lot of space in defense. But that's not a problem as long as the attacker is in an offside position. The communication between the defenders is perfect, and the high line always functions as one collective offside trap. And in all honesty, it's probably just because he has a very clear idea of this offside trap, and because he makes these defenders drill it over and over again in training. I cannot imagine how many hours these players must have spent just working on this offside trap during the training sessions. In almost every Barcelona game this season, there is at least one moment where the opposition attackers are completely neutralized by this tactic. In their games against Villarreal and Real Madrid, for example, their opponents scored multiple offside goals even. It's a high risk, high reward strategy, but if you get it right, if the idea is clear, and if you drill it over and over again in training, it's just an extremely effective way of defending. Alejandro Balde, Inigo Martinez, Cubarsi, and Jules Koundé, they understand the assignments, and game after game after game, they execute it to perfection. Barcelona's offside trap might be their biggest defensive weapon. But the offside trap in itself wouldn't be enough to make Barcelona's defense this solid. We also have to give some credits to Cubarsi and Inigo Martinez. These two defenders have both been in great form this far, and they complement each other very well actually. They're the perfect center-back duo. Cubarsi is right-footed and he's basically got the full package that you want a center-back to have. His defending is sharp, he's not afraid to go in for risky tackles, and on the ball he's simply a genius. As a matter of fact, one of the reasons why Barcelona are able to play so fluidly in some games is because of Cubarsi, who can distribute the play with passes that you would expect from someone like Frenkie de Jong. Just pay attention to him during the next Barcelona game that you watch, and you'll see him play some passes that most defenders simply cannot pull off. As for Inigo Martinez, well, even though a lot of fans were doubtful about him after last season, he has managed to put in one solid performance after the other up till now. He's left-footed, which is already really interesting, as you want to have one right and one left-footed centre-back ideally, which Barcelona have because of him. Apart from that, he's actually really similar to Cubarsi. He's defensively solid, he's not afraid to take risks, and he's a master on the ball. He's the kind of defender who can play the kind of passes that you associate with Xavi, which is also how he got an assist against Real Madrid. Long story short, Barcelona have a centre-back duo that is perfect for helping them play out from the back, and that's one of the reasons why they're so good on the ball as a team. But some people might say, well, they are both good at defending, but they lack pace, don't they? Unfortunately, they're both indeed not that fast. The few times that we did see Barcelona get exposed this season, it was mainly because of their lack of pace at centre-back. However, there's two things that we need to mention here. First off, the offside trap is actually a really good way to make up for this lack of pace. I mean, if you manage to keep a clean sheet against Mbappé and Vinicius, it basically means that you're capable of neutralizing fast attackers. And also, there is another defender who might actually make up for Barcelona's lack of pace in defense, but we'll still come on to him later in the video. All things considered, Cubarsi and Inigo Martinez are just the perfect centre-back duo for Hansi Flick's Barcelona. And Cubarsi might still lack some experience being only 17, but with an experienced defender like Inigo Martinez next to him, that's not too big of an issue. These two together really are the ideal combination. But Cubarsi and Inigo Martinez aren't the only defenders who have been that great. We also have to give some credit to the fullbacks. Alejandro Balde and Jules Koundé are perfect together as well. And why? Well, they both go into attack quite often under Hansi Flick, but in general, Koundé is a little more defensive-minded than Balde, and he will also stay at the back at moments. In other words, there's one really offensive fullback in Balde, and one more balanced fullback in Koundé. As a result, Barcelona's overall structure is balanced as well, contrary to 1 year ago. Last season, we sometimes saw Xavi play with Alejandro Balde and João Cancelo at the same time. Barcelona played with two extremely offensive fullbacks, and that's one of the reasons why they were that vulnerable in defense. Actually, if João Cancelo would still be at Barcelona right now, and he would play instead of Koundé, Barcelona would have probably conceded more goals by now. I'm not saying João Cancelo is not a good player, but playing him and Balde together was just asking for trouble. And to be honest, defensively, João Cancelo has always been a liability. And remind you, under Xavi 1 year before, in the 22-23 season, Xavi did play with Balde and Koundé as his fullbacks. And guess what? Barcelona's defense was rock solid that season. Balde and Koundé together really just give you the right balance that you need at the fullback positions. Balde might be really offensive, but that is made up for by the fact that Koundé is defensively extremely solid. This is also one of the reasons why Barcelona are now defensively better than 1 year ago. And right now, we've not even mentioned Barcelona's two best defenders yet, because here's the funny thing. Under Xavi, when not everyone in defense was available, we often saw Barcelona crumble. For Xavi's Barcelona to be at its best, everyone needed to be available. Now, however, Hansi Flick hasn't been able to use Christensen and Ronald Araujo yet so far. Despite that, he's still been able to turn Barcelona into a defensively solid team. Again, we have to thank the Offside Trap for that. It's a collective tactic that doesn't really depend on the quality of individual players. That's why we've not seen Barcelona really lack Araujo or Christensen. But once these two are back, Barcelona's defense might even become better. And why? Well, for one, Ronald Araujo could solve the problem that Barcelona still have in defense, their lack of pace. Once he is back, Barcelona will be less vulnerable to pacey attackers. In general, he's probably also Barcelona's best defender in terms of pure defending, and even though he's not as composed as someone like Cubarsi, he is still comfortable with the ball in his feet. As for Andreas Christensen, well, he's really similar to Cubarsi. He's defensively solid, but his quality on the ball might be his biggest assets. So the question is, what would Barcelona's strongest defense actually look like with everyone back available? To be honest, the perfect centre-back pair might be Cubarsi at the left and Ronald Araujo at the right. Cubarsi gives you that patience on the ball and he can distribute the play out from the back, while Araujo is a little more unhinged, but he does have that pace and aggression that Cubarsi lacks a bit. These two complement each other really well. Nevertheless, the current duo of Cubarsi and Inigo Martinez has been amazing thus far, so Ronald Araujo will definitely have to prove himself first before earning a starting 11 spot in this current Barcelona team. Besides, Inigo Martinez is Barcelona's only left-footed centre-back, so maybe the ideal centre-back pair is him together with Cubarsi. It'll be up to Hansi Flick to find out who the ideal two players are once everyone is back from injury. But whoever he chooses, Barcelona's defense will always be solid this season. But let's face it, to defend, Barcelona don't just rely on their defenders, the whole team is responsible for keeping those clean sheets. Actually, Barcelona already avoid a lot of danger just by putting high pressure. The high press is one of Barcelona's biggest weapons under Hansi Flick. We often see Barcelona's opponents have a hard time playing out from the back just because Barcelona simply have a very well coordinated collective press. Again, this has probably been drilled for hours under Hansi Flick at the training grounds. Hansi Flick has a clear idea of what he wants his players to do, and everyone understands it perfectly. Rafinha and Lamine Yamal win back a lot of balls, but the same can be said for Marc Asensio and Pedri. If we're talking about Pedri, for example, we've maybe even never seen him recover more balls than this season under Hansi Flick. Because of Barcelona's high press, opposition players often end up in a situation where they can do nothing but just clear the ball. All in all, the high press is one of Barcelona's most underrated strengths, and we just cannot leave it unmentioned if we talk about Barcelona's defending. So yeah, all in all, Barcelona's defense is really complete, and it is mainly because of Hansi Flick's collective tactics that they've become better again defensively. But wait, then why did they concede 4 goals against Osasuna in that one La Liga game? And to be honest, in quite a lot of games, Barcelona did still concede 1 or 2 goals. They depend on their attack to win games. So is their defense really elite? Well, first of all, about that Osasuna game, they played with a back four of Koundé, Sergi Dominguez, Cubarsi and Gerard Martin. That's obviously not their strongest possible defense. And frankly, Sergi Dominguez and Gerard Martin might still need some time to really adapt to La Liga football. Barcelona had some bad luck in that game, Sergi Dominguez made some crucial errors, and that is why they ended up conceding 4 goals. That game was an exception. In general, if Barcelona play more or less with their strongest back four, they are solid at the back. Sometimes, near the end of games, they become a little less sharp. That's what we saw against Girona and Sevilla, for example. That might be something that they can still improve on, but then again, they were really sharp all game long against Bayern Munich and Real Madrid. So it is quite fair to say that Barcelona's defense right now is world class. The individual class of players like Cubarsi and Koundé is undeniable, and collectively, the offside trap works great. And right now, we've not even seen Christensen and Araujo in this defense yet. So Barcelona really isn't just about that attack, they're really a scary team all around. So that was it for today's video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed it, and feel free to share your own opinion in the comments down below. And of course, Força Barça and have a good day.